Is stopping channel migrants a priority for you? Do get your calls in for this one now. We're asking this after almost 900 people crossed the channel on Tuesday, the most in a single day this year so far. Now, the Home Office believes over 12,300 have entered the country this way since the start of the year, which is almost a fifth more than this time last year. Well, lots of parties have set out how they would look to tackle the problem. Labour have said that they pledge a new border security command to prosecute small boat gangs. The Conservatives want to plough ahead with the Rwanda scheme with regular flights. Reform want all illegal migrants detained and deported. The Lib Dems would provide safe and legal refuge routes, while the Green Party would replace the Home Office with a Department for Migration. But are small boats a priority to you? Mike, are they a priority?
An absolute priority, and I think the figures you've just announced to the audience storm, 900 yesterday, that is now clearly a response to the fact that Labour are going to win the next election, that Keir Starmer said one of the first things I'm going to do is scrap the Rwanda scheme. And we've seen in recent weeks the Rwanda scheme was having effect because people were disappearing to Ireland for fear that they might be subject to deportation from here to Rwanda. Rwanda is also being taken up in Denmark and even in the European Union, taking people to a third country to be processed. It's the only possible deterrent we've got. It's going to go. When it does, it will become uncontrolled. I'm not against immigration. I'm not against migration, but it's got to be properly controlled. You can't just have open borders because the resources in this country will eventually crumble under the weight.
But when it comes to migration in general, that's legal and illegal, if that's what you call it. We're talking about people coming over in small boats is 2.5%, Mike, and yet that's the thing that you're going to base your vote on? Yeah.
The difference is, and people will never differentiate between this, the people who come through the legal migration routes, generally speaking, have somewhere to come to. They have a home to come to, a family to come to, they have a job to come to, they have a location to come to. The poor people in those boats who are cannon fodder for the gangs who are making billions of pounds out of them, generally speaking, arrive here in what they stand up in. They've got nowhere to live, they've got no source of employment, no food, probably no family, and they are all on their own. And it puts a huge, huge pressure on the resources needed to look after them in a humane fashion. And it can't go on forever. It's got to be curtailed.
Well, you mentioned the gangs there, Matt. Maybe that's where we need to put our focus. Maybe Labour's right. Maybe you need to look at tackling the gangs
first. Well, that is the focus of Labour. And, I like Mike, we get on well. But
it's very kind of you. I feel good about that.
But it's absolute nonsense to suggest that this spike has anything to do with Labour. Rishi Sunak, we're talking about priorities. My priorities, by the way, are the fact that there are 7.5 million on the waiting list, on the NHS waiting list. That public services, a lot of them are on their knees after 14 years of Conservatives in number 10. The cost of living, the fact that 11 million of us, roughly, last year were thought to be struggling to pay
a lot of that's because
bills.
There are migrants in this country. The waiting list you just talked about, I don't think so.
Our public services would be totally crippled without people coming from abroad. Just think of the number of visas we gave to people in the NHS and social care last year.
You've got to focus immigration, OK? Not just open the doors and say, all come in, you can't do that.
I don't think Labour is suggesting that they're going to simply open the doors. You're absolutely right, Storm, that the number of these desperate people, and they are desperate because it's a very dangerous journey and people do lose their lives and have lost their lives, and the number of people are coming on, tiny fraction of overall net migration. But of course we should stop the boats, we should do everything we can within the law and within our moral compass to stop the boats. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, there have been how many Tory Prime Ministers in number 10 since 2010?
I've lost count.
5, we've lost count. He said at the beginning of last year that we should judge him on 5 key pledges. One of those was to stop the boats.
Because Labour vote against every proposal.
This year,
every proposal. They vote against every proposal in the Commons.
He's got a majority, last time I checked.
I'm sorry, but Labour vote against it, and so do some of the Tory one-nationers.
He's got a majority. He said he was going to try and stop the boats, or that we should judge him on that. This is, at the moment, going to be a record year.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's mind-boggling and extraordinary. By the way,
maybe actually the Lib Dems have the right approach here. In order to stop the small boats, it's nearly impossible to stop the gangs because all you need is a blow-up boat and a mobile phone, and you're good to go for that. the Rwanda scheme has been very difficult to take off, if it ever will. Maybe the Lib Dems just opening up safe and legal routes for refugees is the way to do it.
We certainly do need safe and legal routes, but we also need to make sure that the claims are processed properly. We need to make sure that the French are doing more on their side, and I hope and suspect that Keir Starmer has a better... Well, I suspect that Keir Starmer, because he doesn't carry the baggage of Brexit or of being a Conservative, he will be in a better position to deal with the likes of Macron.
OK, let's go to the calls and find out what you at home think. Caroline from Manchester, when you go to the polls, will the small boats crossing be a priority for you?
Yes, it will.
And why are they such a priority?
Because they're coming into our country and they're being put up in hotels, they're being fed, they're being given money, and yet we can't look after our own people from our own island.
But Caroline, is that not an issue with how our infrastructure and how our services have been governed and controlled, rather than the small boats? When you think about migration as a whole, and we need people coming in to fill certain job vacancies, when you look at migration as a whole, people coming over in small boats make up 2.5%. So how much of an impact do you think that they are having on our infrastructure?
Too much. It should never happen. Should not be coming.
Do you think that we have a moral responsibility to help people that are fleeing from war-torn countries or persecution for whatever reason that might be?
No.
We haven't. So you would just shut the borders completely to anyone that wants to come in here for refuge or asylum?
Yes.
Okay, Caroline.
No, you're getting me wrong here. They should be vetted at the border.
Well, I agree.
I think they are vetted. I think the problem for a few people is that it's taking so long to vet them. But that's certainly what the Foreign Office should be doing,
Storm,
Caroline.
you don't mind me saying that this idea they're all coming from war-torn countries...
No, we're not saying all of them,
No, I'm not.
but if they are...
When you see a dinghy with 50 young men on it, between the age of 18 and 23, they look to me like they're seeking a better life economically. Nobody can blame
no one
people for
thinks...
that.
What you see and what is actually happening might be different, Mike. What you said, what I see is young men who look like... Well, what you see and what might be happening might be two different things.
But you never see their families, you never see their wives, you never see their children. They're coming here because they want a better life in this country. We should welcome people in need, but we have to...
When we look at the statistics, people that apply for asylum, they are 85% of them were accepted last year.
Yeah.
Why were 85% of them accepted if they weren't valid asylum seekers?
Well, because they had a role to play in this country. But when people get into a dinghy and come across the channel, we don't know who they are. We don't know what talents they've got. We don't know what they can contribute to our economy. The economy's going backwards now because of uncontrolled migration.
Not true, Mike.
OK, well, the Resolution Foundation says it is, and they're one of your left-wing think tanks.
Mike,
and they say GDP is now going down because of an oversupply of illegal immigrants.
No, that's just not true. Not
it
because
is
of
true.
2.5%.
I've just read it.
Not because of 2.5% of net migration.
The Resolution Foundation say it is.
No, Mike. And listen, I think we need to be clear about this. I don't think there is anyone, is there, out there who is serious about being elected in this election who says we should just let the small boats come. The question is, what do we do about it? And the Prime Minister has made it one of his 5 priorities, one of his 5 pledges.
But Keir Starmer doesn't want to do anything about it.
And he's not doing anything about it.
That's also not necessarily true, Matt, because there are parties that think that we should let all of these people apply but create legal routes. Now, the idea is to stop the small boat crossings because they are so incredibly dangerous. And actually yesterday, Sky News filmed these pictures that showed a smuggler's boat coming to collect the migrants. It says children and babies were carried onto the boat. The French police monitored the situation but can't intervene due to French law, which says that once they are in the water, officials can't help unless they are in distress. So it's not, I mean, you see babies and children there, Mike, so that kind of rules out your all young men.
Yeah, but you don't see many boats like that, to be honest. The boats you see like that are those who are rushing for the last boat out. But the organised ones that are coming from the gangs, they're just people who've paid £5,000, got on board, next stop England. Keir Starmer's hinted in the past that he believes any attempt to try and control immigration in this country could be seen as racist, and that's the platform he comes from. He has said that in the past, that it could be seen as racist.
Keir Starmer is absolutely clear that he wants to stop the boats.
I don't think he does.
Let me just quickly outline my case. I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for these people because, as I've said already, they are desperate. However, I think they should come through legal routes, and I do not think, and I think the vast majority of people in the country agree with me, I do not think we should just simply allow these boats to arrive, both for the sakes of the people themselves and also because we want to have a fair and functioning system.
We need a deterrent then, don't we?
But the deterrent isn't working. The idea that Rwanda...
It hasn't been given a chance to work.
Because it couldn't... Everyone knew with a half a brain that Rwanda wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to put enough people in Rwanda, and he was deeply immoral. Why do you think Sunak called the election early? Partly because he didn't want it to be shown for absolutely certain
a load of lawyers got involved
Rwanda would not work. Why have we had no flights?
Why do we have to go through the courts to try and control our own borders? Because judges now interfere in the democratic process of this country, in my view.
You're talking about the Supreme Court in this
country? Supreme Court and overseas courts like the ECHR, getting a judge out of bed in the middle of the night and saying that person can't leave Britain for Rwanda.
But it was the British Supreme Court that said that Rwanda wasn't a safe country. That was their issue. They had no issue with the third country idea.
But then we corrected it, didn't we? Went back, and it is now a safe country.
Parliament lied to us, yes. The Tories, with their majority, which you should remember they still have, the Tories pretended to the country, pretended them to themselves that Rwanda was suddenly a safe country.
No, they didn't. They proved it was a safe country, and then it was challenged in the courts.
The president had 99.5% of the vote. Yeah. How can that possibly... Do you want to live in a country where the president gets 99.5% of the vote?
Rwanda's got the fastest growing economy in Africa. It's one of the safest countries in Africa. And I think it really, a bit on the edge to say, Rwanda's it's still a third world country. It's not.
So if Keir Starmer gets 99.9% of the vote, you'd be happy with that,
I want to get back to the calls. Billy from Cheshire, what's your thoughts when it comes to the small boat situation? Is it at the top of your mind, or will it be when you head to the polls?
It does concern me because there's no room for them. Simple as that. They're coming over in uncontrolled numbers. The people who served in the armed forces are living on the street, but they get priority for the housing and the hotels. Billy, now they're available for illegal migrants, while they're available for ours.
Billy, it's a really hard argument to make when we do have ex-servicemen living on the streets, and not just ex-servicemen. We have a lot of homeless people in this country. But when you think of migration as a whole, people coming over illegally on small boats make up 2.5%. Now, how much of an impact do you think this 2.5% is having on our infrastructure? Perhaps, Billy, and it's a genuine question, you would want to see migration as a whole reduced, maybe to something like Nigel Farage wants, which is just absolutely zero non-essential migrants in this country, which means we don't help anyone, no refugees, no asylum seekers, only people to fill specific roles that we need in this country.
No, I agree with helping people from genuine war situations like in Ukraine and stuff like that. But, I mean, there's people come over there who are economic migrants. That's who I'm against.
OK, but Billy, there's other reasons that people might come over here, not just because of war. I mean, there's lots of people coming over still from Afghanistan. People are coming over because they're being persecuted in their country because of their sexuality, because of lots of different things. Should we help those people, or is it just if they're in a European country?
No, I do agree with helping them, but why don't we stay in the first safe country? Years ago, when I was a kid, and you're a Jewish man,
well,
his family escaped from Germany and went to the first safe country.
I mean, but the argument for that, there's lots of different reasons. But I'm hearing from you, Billy, that you do want to help people, but you want to make sure that they're coming over here in a safe way, and you want to make sure that they are the verified asylum seekers, refugees, before they arrive on our shores. Well, that would be a sort of Lib Dem approach then, wouldn't it, opening up more safe and legal routes?
Yeah, have a safe and legal routes, but also let them have the documentation. It seems funny that a lot of these illegal ones coming over in dinghies have lost their passports.
OK, coming over illegally rather than you can't be an illegal person, but I take your point, Billy.
So, you've mentioned now once or twice 2.5% is the number in the boats.
Because it is so fractionally small, and yet when it comes to the papers and it comes to broadcasting, we talk about it a lot. It bothers people a lot.
I totally agree, but the visibility of the problem that causes is when you see a smaller town in Britain where a hotel has been taken over in the middle of the town and there might be 70 young men occupying that hotel. It's not open as a hotel anymore. It's a refugee centre. They don't have jobs. They've got nothing to do
all day. Why not let them work? Why not let them work?
That's a different question.
And that puts, they've got no jobs.
That puts pressure on the resources of the town.
Let them work.
Contribute. The town doesn't get more doctors. It doesn't get another school in case they've got children with them. And it individually, on smaller communities, under terrible pressure, with people who shouldn't be here.
You said that these people should just go to the first safe country. So you think Greece or Italy should take all of the asylum seekers who come to Europe? Of course not. We share the responsibility. Otherwise, we become some sort of Mickey Mouse outpost on the west of Europe.
Mickey Mouse outpost? When we're doing better than any country in Europe since we left Brexit. We're not a Mickey Mouse outpost, believe me.
You think we should take no asylum seekers and they should all go to Greece or Italy?
Don't twist my words.
That's what you're implying.
I did not.
I said it's got to be port of entry.
I said it's got to be properly controlled.
Very passionate, and I do love that, but I'm going to go back to the calls. Billy, thank you very much. Rob from Cumbria, what's your thoughts on the small boats top of the agenda when it comes to election day?
No, it isn't top of my agenda. The NHS is the top of my agenda. But I would just like to say the rhetoric used on stopping the boats and things like that, as a parent, and you're a parent yourself, Storm, if people are willing to put their small children and babies in boats, they must be desperate to put themselves and their babies in that danger. So I think we need to have more humanitarian ways. Sending to Rwanda isn't helpful. It isn't going to stop it. Because if you're desperate to put your baby in a boat, you're desperate to, going to Rwanda isn't going to deter you.
I appreciate the comment, but Mike has a point. It isn't all babies and women. It is predominantly men. And also 85% may be accepted, but that leaves a large percentage that isn't, that's sent back. So not all of these people are fleeing persecution or fleeing war zones. And how do we stop those people coming across and sometimes disappearing into the economy, Rob?
Completely disappearing. Black economy, absolutely right.
Storm is we have to have safe and legal routes, which the government doesn't seem to be interested in. I think the government, it suits their political agenda to have someone to blame for something. We need to have humanitarian safe routes in France or even in their own countries on the borders of countries where they're fleeing from, and then we can deal with that in the source rather than getting people to trail across Europe, because people come here because they might have family ties here, or Britain was an empire. Britain was an empire, so they will have some affiliation to Britain before some of the Middle East or African countries fell into civil war. So they will have had connections to Britain.
Potentially, Rob.
150,000 Indian people have come here because of family connections, and they've come through the legal routes, But
there are not legal routes for some places in the world, and I suppose that's what some
I totally agree. But again, if we can identify people who are not fleeing warfare, like Albania, we can do a deal with the country, and Albanians now have been told not to come and don't come.
OK, Rob, thank you for your call. Thanks for all your calls on that. Very passionate.